8 months and 26 days. It's a long time to wait for anything.
That's exactly how long it took one local family to bring back a soldier who made the ultimate sacrifice. For them, it was better late than never. Local 12's Megan Moore and photojournalist Eric Gerhardt documented the decades-long effort to bring Private First Class Everett Eugene Johnson back home.
Having to say goodbye to someone you love is never easy. But imagine never having that chance.
The saddest part of all of this, that none of his brothers or sisters, none of his mom nor his dad ever got the opportunity to see a casket.
Dear Mrs. Johnson, it is with regret that I am writing to confirm the recent telegram informing you of the death of your son.
All day, every single day, a guard stands watch at the tomb of the unknown soldier in Arlington National Cemetery, honoring those who haven't been named.
He was one of, scores of casualties at the time that were unidentified.
From the Korean War alone, there were still more than 7,000 American soldiers unaccounted for. Soldiers without names, families without closure.
I know the sorrow this message has brought you, and it is my hope that in time, the knowledge of his heroic service to his country may be of sustaining comfort to you.
Everett Eugene Johnson grew up on Auburn Avenue in Cincinnati. The third oldest son of his mother Lena and father Edwin, he was one of 11 kids. A student at Woodward High School, he enlisted in the Army in 1948. It was here at the Silverton train station where his family said their goodbyes, never knowing it would be their last. Assigned to the 1st Cavalry Division stationed in Japan, a surprise attack from the North Koreans in South Korea in June of 1950 would send Gene Johnson into battle in Daegu, South Korea.
He went from a relatively simple occupation soldier to a frontline combat soldier in a matter of days.
A few days before, some of us had been in cities, spending leave time at Fuji, something like that. We weren't scared. We didn't know.
In that early part of the war, I mean, they were outgunned, they were outmanned. My uncle's company straddled the roadway, which was the major axis of advance of the North Koreans. In preparation for their advance to try to break through the Pusan perimeter to kick the U.S. and UN forces off the peninsula, they absolutely peppered that area with artillery. But he went from that very positive cultural experience in Japan to death tugging at his elbow every day, and eventually death came knocking and took him.
On September 3rd, 1950, at just 21 years old. Along with several others he fought alongside, Gene was deemed unidentifiable and buried in a temporary grave in Korea.
And for the next 4 years, they tried to make an identification of my uncle and were not able to. The only evidence they had of my uncle was a canteen cup with his first initial, E for Everett, Johnson.
That wasn't enough for the Army to identify him. Due to the fact that there were more than 80 other unresolved casualties, his body eventually sent to the National Memorial Cemetery of the Pacific in Hawaii, known only as Unknown X 1072.
They buried him with full military honors as an unknown. And there he rested for over 66 years. I just assumed, based on the horrific nature of the battle and the way it was explained to me, that we never would find my uncle.
Tony never had the pleasure of meeting him. Neither did his cousin Pam Thomas. Gene's mother Lena always held on to hope.
I don't think a mother's love ever ends, and I don't think that they ever get over it.
Giving up her gravesite next to her husband, just in case.
That she wanted to be buried somewhere else because she wanted to keep that grave in case they ever brought Gene home. They never got closure. He never came back.
Her family's love for an uncle she never knew motivated Pam to keep up the fight. That would pay off when she discovered a report about that canteen cup. She would petition the government in June of 2014 to have his body exhumed. Over the years, with other members of Gene's unit being identified, the Defense POW MIA Accounting Agency decided there was a greater chance of identifying the remains of unknown X-1072. 2 years later, a clavicle bone from unknown X-1072's skeletal remains.
I see it.
There we go. That's him.
Oh.
Matched a chest x-ray from Gene Johnson's medical exams at basic training in Breckenridge, Kentucky.
There he is.
X-1072, an unknown soldier who served in the Forgotten War, was given back his name.
There he is.
What a sacrifice.
Private First Class Everett Eugene Johnson.
I didn't know him, but I feel like I know him.
Yeah, all those years hearing those stories, right?
Almost a year after being identified, he's home.
Let's just welcome him home, huh?
I knew he was going to come home. I had that feeling in my heart.
And he'll rest now next to my grandfather for all of eternity. And for me, I get kind of choked up thinking about that.
At Laurel Cemetery, Megan Moore, Local 12 News.
.428 Americans who served in the Korean War are still unaccounted for today.